This is not just a story about love, it's about what happens when loyalty is forgotten. My name is Melissa. And I need to tell you about the night that changed everything. The night the man I loved looked me in the eyes, in front of his entire family, and said I wasn't good enough. He laughed. They laughed. I smiled. Because they had no idea what I was capable of. What he didn't know was that I had already started planning. And by the time he realized what was happening, it was already too late. This is my story. His name was Daniel. I met him on a rainy Tuesday in October. I remember because I hate the rain, but that day, I didn't mind it. I was sitting in a small bookstore cafe, trying to finish a logo design for a client. My laptop was dying. My coffee was cold. I was stressed. Daniel sat down at the table next to mine. He had this presence. Confident but not arrogant. Or so I thought. He noticed my screen. "You're a designer?" he asked. I looked up. Dark hair. Blue eyes. A smile that felt genuine. "Yeah," I said. "Freelance." "That's impressive," he said. "Takes guts to work for yourself." We talked for 2 hours. He told me he worked in finance. That he was ambitious. That he wanted to build something meaningful. I told him about my dream of owning a design agency someday. He said he believed I would. And I believed him. We started dating 3 days later. For the first 6 months, everything was perfect. He brought me coffee before work. He listened when I talked about difficult clients. He told me I was talented. He made me feel seen. When things got serious, I moved into his apartment. It was bigger than mine. Nicer. In a part of the city I couldn't afford. "Consider it our place," he said. I paid what I could. It wasn't half, but he never complained. I cooked. I cleaned. I stayed up late helping him prepare for presentations. I didn't mind. Because I loved him. And I thought he loved me the same way. After 18 months together, he proposed. We were at the beach. Sunset. The whole thing. He got down on one knee in the sand and said, "I want to build a life with you." I cried happy tears. I said yes without hesitation. I thought I knew him. I thought we were partners. I was so wrong. But I didn't know that yet. Not until the dinner. 2 months after the engagement, Daniel's parents invited us to their home for dinner. I had met them twice before. Brief, polite encounters. His mother, Victoria, was elegant and cold. The kind of woman who smiled with her mouth but not her eyes. His father, Charles, was a successful attorney. Intimidating. Dismissive. But this dinner was different. This was the official meeting of the families. My parents couldn't make it. My mom was recovering from surgery, and my dad stayed with her. So it was just me. Walking into their world alone. I wanted to impress them. I bought a dress I couldn't really afford. Simple but elegant. I baked a chocolate cake from scratch. Daniel's favorite. When we arrived, their house took my breath away. Not in a good way. It was massive. Cold. Everything looked expensive and untouchable. Victoria greeted us at the door. Her eyes swept over me. Over my dress. Over the cake carrier in my hands. "How quaint," she said. Not how lovely. Quaint. We sat down in their formal dining room. Crystal glasses. Fine china. A chandelier that probably cost more than my car. Daniel's sister Emma was there too. Younger than him. Quieter. Charles poured wine. Victoria asked about the wedding plans. I started to answer, but she interrupted. We've already spoken to our event planner, she said. She'll handle everything. No need for you to worry about it, Melissa. Daniel nodded. Mom has great taste, he said. I forced a smile. I'd like to be involved, I said carefully. Victoria laughed lightly. Of course, dear. We'll ask for your input. The way she said it made it clear she wouldn't. Dinner was served. Salmon. Roasted vegetables. Everything perfect. Charles asked Daniel about work. Daniel talked about a big account he'd landed. Charles was impressed. That's my boy, he said. Built for success. Then Victoria turned to me. And Melissa, she said. Daniel mentioned you do, what was it? Graphic design? Yes, I said. I run my own freelance business. How nice, she said. A little hobby. My stomach tightened. It's not a hobby, I said. It's my career. Charles chuckled. Well, once you're married, you won't need to work so hard. Daniel will take care of you. I looked at Daniel, waiting for him to defend me. He didn't. He just cut his salmon and stayed quiet. Then it got worse. Victoria asked about my family. I told her my dad was a mechanic. My mom was a teacher. How charming, she said. Blue collar. Very honest work. The condescension dripped from every word. Emma looked uncomfortable. Charles asked Daniel about his promotion prospects. Daniel launched into it, confident and animated. Then Victoria said something that made my blood run cold. You know, Daniel, you're doing so well. We're so proud. You've worked so hard to get where you are. She paused. Then looked at me. It's just wonderful that you found someone who supports you. Even if she's still finding her footing. Still finding her footing. Like I was a child. I felt my face flush. Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah, Melissa's still figuring it all out, he said. But that's okay. Not everyone can handle pressure like I can. The room went silent. Emma's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Charles smirked into his wine glass. Victoria smiled. And Daniel just sat there. Like he'd said something perfectly normal. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And I saw a stranger. Excuse me, I said quietly. I stood up and walked to the bathroom. I locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to smile. And I was going to destroy him. I came back to the table. Everyone looked at me. I smiled. Sorry, I said. I'm fine. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Are you sure, dear? You look pale. I'm perfect, I said. We finished dinner. Victoria served the cake I'd brought. She cut small slices. It's a bit dense, isn't it? She said after one bite. Charles didn't even try it. Daniel ate his slice quickly, not looking at me. When we finally left, I didn't say a word in the car. Daniel drove. He turned on the radio. He hummed along. Like nothing had happened. When we got home, I went straight to the bedroom. He followed. What's your problem? He asked. I turned slowly. What's my problem? You've been weird all night. You humiliated me, Daniel. He frowned. What are you talking about? At dinner. You let them mock me. You joined in. He sighed. Melissa, my parents were just teasing. It's what they do. That wasn't teasing. You're being too sensitive. Too sensitive. Those words landed like a slap. I've supported you for almost 2 years, I said. I've helped you with work. I've organized your life. I've done everything to be a good partner. And you treated me like I was beneath you. He rubbed his face. Here we go. The drama. I'm not being dramatic. Yes, you are, he said. My parents are important people. They have standards. You need to toughen up if you're going to be part of this family. Toughen up. Like their cruelty was something I needed to accept. I'm going to bed, I said. Fine, he said. Sleep it off. You'll feel better tomorrow. He kissed my forehead. Like everything was fine. Like I was overreacting. I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. And I started planning. The next morning, Daniel acted like nothing happened. He made coffee. He talked about his day. He asked me to pick up his dry cleaning. I said yes. But inside, something had shifted. I wasn't the same woman who walked into that dinner. I was someone new. Someone patient. Someone dangerous. I spent the next 2 weeks observing. Really observing. I watched how Daniel talked to his colleagues. How he dismissed their ideas and claimed them as his own. I watched how he talked about me to his friends. She's sweet, he'd say. But not exactly ambitious. I watched how he took credit for the presentation decks I'd designed for him. All my work, he'd tell his boss. He thought I didn't notice. But I noticed everything. I stopped helping him. No more presentation designs. No more staying up late to proofread his emails. No more organizing his schedule. At first, he didn't notice. Then he did. Can you help me with this pitch? He asked one night. I'm busy, I said. He looked surprised. With what? Work. Your freelance stuff can wait, he said. I looked at him. No, it can't. He stared at me for a moment. Then shrugged and walked away. That's when I knew. He didn't see me as a partner. He saw me as support staff. So I started building. I reached out to old contacts. I pitched bigger clients. I took on projects that scared me. Within 3 weeks, I landed my first major contract. A tech company wanted a full rebrand. The pay was more than I'd made in 3 months of freelancing. I didn't tell Daniel. I just worked. Late nights. Early mornings. Pouring everything into my craft. And it paid off. The client loved my work. They referred me to another company. Then another. Within 6 weeks, my income had doubled. I opened a separate bank account. I started saving. Because I knew this engagement was over. I just needed to time it right. One night, Daniel came home excited. Big news, he said. Dad's making me partner at the firm. That's great, I said. Yeah. I've worked my ass off for this. I nodded. He didn't ask about my day. He never did. We should celebrate, he said. Invite my parents for dinner. My stomach dropped. Here? Yeah. I want to show off the place. Show them I'm doing well. Okay, I said. He grinned. This is huge for me, Melissa. For us. Us? He still thought there was an US. I smiled. I know. That's when I decided. The dinner would be perfect. But not for him. For me. I spent 2 weeks preparing. First, I called Victoria. "Hi Victoria," I said, my voice warm. "I wanted to get your advice on something." She sounded surprised. "Of course, Melissa. Daniel wants to host a dinner for you and Charles. To celebrate his partnership. And I want everything to be perfect. But honestly, I'm nervous. You have such incredible taste. Flattery is a powerful weapon." She softened immediately. "Well, I appreciate you asking, dear. What do you need?" "Menu suggestions. Wine pairings. I want to impress you." We talked for 30 minutes. By the end, she was warm. Almost kind. "You know, Melissa," she said, "I think you're really trying." "That's admirable." I smiled into the phone. "I just want to be worthy of Daniel." "Keep it up, dear." I hung up. Perfect. Next, I contacted my clients. The tech company. The lifestyle brand. The startup I'd just finished work for. I invited them to a small networking event. At my apartment. The same night as Daniel's dinner. They all said yes. Then I did something else. I reached out to Emma, Daniel's sister. We'd exchanged numbers after the first dinner. I texted her. "Hey Emma, would love to grab coffee sometime. I could use a friend in the family." She replied within minutes. "I'd love that." We met 2 days later. Emma was sweet. Genuine. And she felt guilty. "I'm sorry about that dinner," she said. "My parents can be intense." And Daniel was out of line. "It's okay," I said. "It's not," she said. "You didn't deserve that." I looked at her. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Has Daniel always been like this? Arrogant?" She hesitated. Then nodded. "Yeah. Since he started working for Dad. He's changed." "Does he talk about me?" She looked uncomfortable. "Sometimes." "What does he say?" She sighed. "That you're nice. But not really on his level." There it was. His true feelings. "Thank you for being honest," I said. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You deserve better, Melissa." I smiled. "I know." The day of the dinner arrived. I cooked everything Victoria had suggested. Beef Wellington. Roasted root vegetables. A perfect chocolate souffle. Daniel came home early. "Wow," he said, looking at the table. "You really went all out." "I wanted it to be special," I said. He kissed my cheek. "This is why I love you." I smiled. But inside, I felt nothing. Victoria and Charles arrived at 7. Victoria looked around the apartment. "Lovely," she said. "You've done well, Daniel." Charles nodded approvingly. We sat down to eat. The conversation flowed. Daniel talked about his new role. Victoria praised him endlessly. Charles asked about expansion plans. I served the food. Smiled. Played the perfect hostess. Then, at exactly 8 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Daniel frowned. "Who's that?" "Oh," I said casually. "I invited a few people. I hope you don't mind." "What people?" I walked to the door. And opened it to my clients. 5 of them. All successful. All influential. All here to see me. Melissa, said James, the CEO of the tech company I'd rebranded. Thanks for the invitation. Daniel stood up, confused. Melissa, what's going on? Just a small gathering, I said. Everyone, please come in. I introduced them. James. Sarah from the lifestyle brand. Marcus from the startup. Victoria and Charles looked bewildered. These are my clients, I said simply. Victoria blinked. Your clients? Yes, I said. I've been working with them over the past few months. James stepped forward. Your fiancée is incredibly talented, he said to Daniel. The rebrand she did for us increased our customer engagement by 40%. Daniel's face went pale. I didn't know you were working with companies like that, Victoria said slowly. I didn't mention it, I said. I've been busy. Sarah jumped in. Busy is an understatement. Melissa's work is exceptional. We're actually featuring her in our upcoming campaign as our lead designer. Charles looked impressed. That's quite an accomplishment. Thank you, I said. Then Marcus spoke. We've been trying to poach her for months. Offered her a full-time position with equity. But she's committed to building her own agency. Victoria's mouth fell open slightly. Your own agency? Yes, I said. I'm launching in 3 months. I've already secured 5 long-term contracts. Daniel just stared at me. The room filled with conversation. My clients talked about my work. About the industry. About opportunities. Victoria and Charles listened, fascinated. Daniel said nothing. After an hour, my clients left. The apartment felt very quiet. Victoria looked at me differently now. Melissa, she said. I had no idea you were doing such impressive work. I don't like to brag, I said. Charles turned to Daniel. Why didn't you tell us about this? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because he didn't know, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. Daniel doesn't ask about my work. He assumes it's just a hobby. Victoria's expression shifted. Daniel finally found his voice. That's not fair, Melissa. Isn't it? I looked at him. Tell me, Daniel. What's the name of my biggest client? Silence. What project am I working on right now? More silence. When did I land my first major contract? He didn't know. He had no idea. Charles looked at his son with something like disappointment. Victoria stood up. I think we should go, she said quietly. They left. Emma texted me later that night. You're amazing. He deserved that. When the door closed, Daniel turned to me. What the hell was that? The truth, I said. You made me look like an idiot. No, I said. I just showed everyone who I really am. By ambushing me? By existing, I said. That's all I did. I let people see my work. I let them hear my accomplishments. If that made you uncomfortable, that's not my problem. He stepped closer. I've supported you this whole time. I laughed. Actually laughed. Supported me? You've dismissed me. Mocked me. Taken credit for my work. You let your parents treat me like I was worthless. That's not. At that first dinner, you said I was still figuring it out. You said not everyone could handle pressure like you. His face reddened. I was just joking. No, you weren't. He had nothing to say. I took off my engagement ring. I set it on the table between us. I'm done, Daniel. You're breaking up with me? Yes. Because of one bad night? Because of every night, I said. Because you never saw me as your equal. You saw me as an accessory. Something pretty to have on your arm while you climbed. He shook his head. You're making a mistake. No, I said. Saying yes to you was the mistake. This is the correction. I walked to the bedroom. I'd already packed a bag. I grabbed it and headed for the door. Melissa, wait. Goodbye, Daniel. I left. And I never looked back. 3 months later, I opened my agency. Melissa Morgan Design. It was small. Just me and 2 junior designers. But it was mine. My clients came with me. Word spread. Within 6 months, I had more work than I could handle. I hired 2 more people. Then 3. By the end of the year, we'd landed a contract with a Fortune 500 company. I saw Daniel once, at a coffee shop. He looked tired. Smaller somehow. I heard through mutual friends that his partnership fell through. His father had found out about the presentation designs. The ones I'd created. The ones Daniel took credit for. Charles was furious. Demoted him back to associate. Daniel saw me across the coffee shop. He started to walk over. Then stopped. We made eye contact. I didn't smile. I didn't glare. I just looked at him. And then I looked away. Because he didn't matter anymore. Victoria called me 6 months after the breakup. Melissa, she said. I owe you an apology. I was surprised. For what? For judging you. For underestimating you. You're remarkable. Thank you, I said. Daniel made a mistake, she said. Yes, I said. He did. There was a long pause. I hope you're happy, she said. I am, I said. And I meant it. Emma and I stayed friends. She told me Daniel had tried dating someone new. It didn't last. He compared her to you, Emma said. She didn't like that. Good for her, I said. People ask me sometimes if I regret it. Walking away from the engagement. I don't. Because that night at his parents' house taught me something. It taught me that love without respect is worthless. It taught me that I don't need anyone to validate my worth. I already know what I'm capable of. And I taught Daniel something too. I taught him that underestimating people has consequences. That the person you mock today might be the person you need tomorrow. That success isn't about who you step on. It's about who you lift up. My agency is thriving. My team is incredible. My work speaks for itself. And Daniel? He's just a story I tell. A reminder of who I used to be. And who I'll never be again. Some people think success made them powerful, they forget who paid the price.